Nico Hulkenberg's jaw-dropping podium finish at Silverstone is a moment that's left everyone buzzing, and it raises a big question. Should Red Bull be eyeing him as a serious contender for a seat in 2026? Sure, Hulkenberg is fully locked into Audi's ambitious F1 project, but if Red Bull comes calling, could this be the perfect career move for him at this stage in his F1 journey? Could we actually look at this fantasy scenario materializing? And more to the point, if it doesn't happen, will Red Bull be regretting not approaching Nico sooner? Let's break it down. If you look at Hulkenberg and the Sauber team throughout their last 5 races, it's truly been impressive how well they've performed. In fact, they've accumulated more points than Red Bull in that time. After a dominant double points performance in Austria, Nico did something that seemed almost impossible. His first ever F1 podium in 239 races, and this is where things get crazy. He outpaced two legends, Hamilton and Verstappen. Plainly put, Nico was the quickest non-McLaren driver on the circuit that weekend. Starting from 19 pesos, he carved through the pack with pinpoint accuracy, calling everything spot on at the moment, a performance that leaves you questioning. What if Red Bull had done something different when choosing to run a second car? And then, on to Red Bull's driver lineup. Max Verstappen naturally, being a great leader and an utter superstar of F1. But even Max cannot do everything single-handed, especially when the performance of the car starts to deteriorate. Red Bull's other drivers, Perez, Lawson, Tsunoda, have not been able to keep up and race at the same level with Max's dominance. Of course, it was not a matter of significance then, when Max was effortlessly winning 19 out of 23 Grand Prix. But with Red Bull's future in the balance now, the question is, did they manage to shoot themselves in the foot by failing to make a move for a more experienced second driver to work alongside Verstappen? You could argue that Carlos Sainz was the perfect man to do it. But let's not forget history here. Sainz and Max were teammates at Toro Rosso, and Carlos wasn't going to be Max's sidekick on a high-performance team. He wanted to establish himself, even if it was expensive to take a risk on a team like Williams. But let's get back to Nico Hulkenberg. If Red Bull had made him the offer then, there's a good chance he wouldn't have turned it down. Take a look at this. Since the Spanish Grand Prix, Hulkenberg has picked up 31 points. Verstappen, all his dominance notwithstanding, has only managed 29 points in the same period. Let that sink in. One driver is in what many consider the slowest car on the grid, while the other is in a top-tier machine, despite a few recent hiccups. Now, I'm not suggesting that Hulkenberg's legacy is on par with Verstappen's. Max is a 4-time world champion and one of the sport's all-time greats. But even the best needs strong support. And in this scenario, Nico Hulkenberg could be the perfect number 2 for Red Bull. Just think about what Hamilton was able to accomplish with Bottas as his teammate between 2017 and 2021. Discounting that crazy 2021 season, of course. Bottas was always there, rarely missing Q3, claiming 10 wins, and playing a crucial role in helping Hamilton extend his dominance. Now, let's look at Red Bull more recently. Can we honestly say they've provided him with that kind of support for Max? Sure, 2021 was the anomaly year, when Perez was the perfect wingman. But ever since, as the competition hardened for Max, he's been pretty much on his own, especially with McLaren's soaring star power. It's one of the reasons Red Bull can't get a shot at the championship that Hamilton did for Bottas. And then there's Silverstone. Hulkenberg was literally one turn ahead of lapping Tsunoda in a car that everybody rates as the worst on the grid, while Yuki last, including a 10-second penalty to his crash with Bottas. And so, the million-dollar question: does Tsunoda have the grit and ability to cut his teeth at Red Bull now? Or is this window closing on him sooner than we expected? It's a tough one, but with Hulkenberg's performances and the dynamic at Red Bull, you couldn't help but wonder what could have been, and what could once again be, if there's good timing. Indeed, he's escaped Q1 for the first time after the last 2 races, but at the end of it all, he's still miles behind the points. He has only 8 points on his name as a Red Bull driver, and is now certainly the slowest driver in the Red Bull family. Even though both drivers of Racing Bulls retired from Silverstone, Tsunoda could still not catch up and be last, with no chance of pushing himself towards the points. When was the initial debacle caused by not seizing the opportunity when it comes to Hulkenberg being part of Red Bull in 2020 when the Austrian outfit was looking for a replacement for Albon? One of the most serious contenders was Nico. It would have been the perfect time to see him return to the sport in dramatic fashion. But in the end, Red Bull decided that Perez was the better option. It wasn't the wrong one. Let's not forget his courageous charge in Turkey that didn't let Hamilton close positions too, and shaving 8 seconds off the Brits' Abu Dhabi finale time. But when push came to shove and the car started to develop in a different direction, Perez was not able to adapt with it. Neither was Lawson, and neither was Tsunoda. And that's why Hulkenberg might have been the smarter selection in a future role. But are we ever going to get any opportunity at all to witness these two as teammates on the track? There is no doubt that Max has admiration for Hulkenberg and was the first of his contemporaries to provide congratulations on his podium, both on and off the track in the pit lane. Hulkenberg realizes that and has immense respect for the Dutchman, and if one were to ask Helmut Marko, the response to this question would be very interesting. When talking about the missed opportunity to sign Hulkenberg and being able to have any cooperation in the future, Marco explained, "I must say that Hulkenberg has done very well since his surprise return to Formula One. Maybe it's just as well he didn't sit next to Max. We were negotiating. Then Perez won the Bahrain Grand Prix, and that was precisely the moment when he needed to make up his mind. That put pressure on us to take him. Nico has a long deal with Audi now, and I wouldn't have swapped that for anything. But there's another very good reason why we must assume the success of Saab is not only based on superb strategy and experience of Nico. Jonathan Wheatley, Red Bull's sporting director, left the Austrian team during all the internal strife, and he deposited his own mission with Saab, taking over as the team principal of the Swiss team. By doing so, he converted a backmarker into a midfield battler in a handful of races, and Hulkenberg is certain that his performance will silence many of his haters. According to his ex-teammate Carlos Sainz, it could have been an indirect message to Red Bull because the Austrian team did decide to overlook Sainz and Hulkenberg as well. And when talking about Nico's debut podium, Sainz said, "Honestly, for me, the most impressive fact is that people kept cursing him. The fact that he didn't have any of the podiums was completely irrelevant to me. I was his teammate, and the fact that he didn't have a podium was just circumstantial. So, yeah, I'm glad that he now has this podium to silence everyone who doubted him. For me, I never doubted him, and I knew he was one day going to be on the podium." It's clear that Red Bull knows very well that Nico won't be present next time. But it seems that they might be learning their mistakes from pushing young stars and destroying their careers in a somewhat struggling vehicle. Max is the sole one to be there with the RB21, at least from the Austrian team camp, as they have not given it to an outsider and seen how his performance would hold there. Much as that may be the situation, Hulkenberg is on his own track now and has put Saba at P6 with his brilliant performances of late, having registered 37 of the 41 points the Swiss team currently enjoys. Hulk is ninth in the Drivers' Championship and is ahead of both Racing Bull's drivers and Tsunoda, which is quite a dismal statistic for Red Bull. They must obtain answers for the car first before they can promote any driver over there, and therefore Hajar's promotion will likely be stopped. The last thing they need at this time is to sidetrack the career of yet another young up-and-coming star in Isaac. And in the wake of Verstappen's recent comments, we have to be thinking about what actually is wrong with the Red Bull from this angle. Discussing the performance of the vehicle, Max said, "Honestly, I didn't know what to expect from the race, but it was just very challenging from lap 1 onwards. Very challenging to balance in the car from high speed to low speed. I couldn't really find the good balance. Also, on the intermediate tire, I think we're degrading too much, especially against McLaren. They were once again on a different level. All of this is leading to a very concerning trend for Red Bull. They may have to be content with racing in the midfield for the rest of the season." Ferrari is also seems to be catching up to Red Bull and Mercedes, with their upgrades bringing a solid step forward. But with 2026 being just around the corner, the question that has to be answered is, will we see a competitive teammate alongside Max? And more importantly, is the team regretting not signing Nico when they got the chance? What do you guys think of this whole situation? Let us know in the comments below. And after that, make sure to click on the video that's showing on your screen right now.